Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Another knife video coming at you, and this one is on a production knife. So we're looking at the Custom Knife Factory T90, and this is, well, it was the newest model until today when they announced their next newest model, but this is their current newest model out in the market, designed in collaboration with Alexey Konygin. And if you guys have heard his name before, he is the designer behind the Decepticon 1 and the Decepticon 2. Very popular knives, certainly drew a lot of attention when they were released, and they still seem to draw a lot of attention. So you get some of that same kind of crazy design, but in a more streamlined, approachable package, definitely a better price point, excellent materials. Let's get into the specs, overall impressions, details, normal format, just as always. So ships with, of course, their pouch, has a terry cloth and a certificate of authenticity, as always. So yeah. Alright, specs on this bad boy. Again, this is the T90 from Custom Knife Factory. What we have here is a 4-inch blade. So this thing has like a 4.09 inch blade length. The cutting edge is like 4.06, but very large, very capable blade. Handle length is 5.35 inches, giving us an overall length of 9.45 inches. So certainly kind of a big bad mamma jamma there. You can do a lot of cutting with this thing, and with the M390 steel, it's certainly going to hold an edge quite well and perform very, very well. So excellent choice of blade steel. I'm quite happy with that. It is the titanium frame lock flipper, of course, stainless steel lock insert, ceramic bearings, ceramic detent ball, excellent action, very, very smooth. Same quality, same consistency that I've seen with all the other knives from Custom Knife Factory that I've purchased thus far. So certainly happy. It is tip-up carry only for right-handed users. And let's see what else. Alright, so the thickness in the pocket here is about 0.5 inches, 0.51 inches. Carries very well, still very slender in the pocket. And weighs in at 5.5 ounces thereabout. And for 4-inch blade, that's actually quite a very reasonable weight. So lots of nice detail. We'll get into that in just a second. But overall impressions, really, really happy with the knife. I think they did a great job, just as they always do. Really cool design. This knife definitely got a lot of attention from my non-knife friends. They all thought this was a really cool looking knife. So, and then the fact that it's 4 inches is also quite impressive with regard to a knife, of course, nothing else. But anyways, so again, they made a really good knife. It's really big, it's 4 inches, but they didn't go crazy with the blade thickness, and it comes down to a very, very nice keen edge on this full flat grind, or just about full flat grind. So very usable. This thing sliced and performed very, very well, and again, an M390, an amazing steel choice. So yeah, very happy with the knife. I think they did a great job. I think they took something that could have potentially, they took something kind of in the overbuilt genre, but kept it very, very usable, and very useful for EDC, whereas some of the bigger ones, they'll give you super thick blade steel, they'll make it extremely heavy, and make it almost unwieldy for normal knife carry. So I've actually carried this thing as slacks, work just fine, goes well with jeans, kind of a go all do everything 4-inch blade in a usable package. So those are my overall impressions. Let's get into the specifics. So first thing you'll notice, of course, is that it is giving kind of a black wash look. Essentially, it's been coated and then stonewashed. I don't know what type of black coating they used, DLC or PVD or any of those, but it's held up well. I haven't seen any scratches or any discoloration, and it is on both the handles and the blade. So that's certainly one of the first details to consider. Let's talk about flipping action. So, riding on the ceramic bearings with the ceramic detent ball flips really, really well, really smooth. Another thing I get asked quite a bit in the comments of videos is how strong is the detent? Some people don't like really strong detent. Some people don't quite have the dexterity or the strength in their hands that they once did. This knife is quite easy to flip. I can flip with my middle finger, thumb, ring finger. This is a very awkward way to flip. Yeah. And if I hold it the right way, I'm getting lost under the camera here. Oh, fingers out of the way. Pinky. So it's really easy to flip. It doesn't require any real strength to do so. And then, typically what will happen is if it's really easy to flip, it'll shake out. But that thing is not going anywhere. So I don't know how they did. They really did a good balance of easy action, easy to flip action, but a solid deployment each and every time without shaking the blade out. So, as far as use, this thing's not going to rip up your finger, through flipping it a lot if you fidget with it. But yeah, just really minimal effort to get this thing to fly open. Solid deployment, so yeah, really impressed with the flipping action. Again, it very EDC friendly is the best way to describe it, I think. So, and then of course being exceptionally smooth, doesn't hurt either. Now, secondly, with regard to the flipping, how easy is it to disengage, and is it uncomfortable in any way? They did go ahead and do some cutouts right here so that your thumb can get in there without any trouble, and then there's really doesn't take much strength to disengage it at all. So I've had knives that were extremely difficult to disengage, or maybe like the Spyderco Rubicon. It was really hard to get down in there to actually disengage it, even though it didn't have a ton of strength. So this one kind of mirrors or marries those two quite well. So fun to fidget with, not uncomfortable, easy to disengage. So just want to start off with those points because, as far as buying flippers, that's kind of what people want to know, since there are so many to choose from. So again, blade steel, M390, really nice flat grind. This thing has performed really well. Nice wedge up top, interesting blade shape. Certainly has that Alexey Konygin feel. It also is somewhat akin to like the Kershaw length in the aluminum. I used to have that one, gifted it to a friend, but quite similar to that one too. So just an interesting coincidence. Coming to the handles, a lot of really nice CNC work to give it that really cool pattern and texture. And it's not just like something that's barely in there. I mean, those are pretty deep cuts or CNC milling in there. So very tangible, very cool. Even the lock side carries that same really neat design right through. So some transitions between the lock bar and the handle, kind of a cool, gap in there, but a lot of attention given to the aesthetics on the lock side, which is pretty neat. So doesn't look out of place, doesn't look any less attractive than the show side. So yeah, the clip is something between a 3D and a bent spring clip. As you can see, this started out with a pretty thick piece of titanium, milled that out, bent it. Does carry pretty well, so no problems putting it in and out of the pocket. Carries fairly deep. You've got about that much sticking out. So now when I first got this and I was trying to break it in as quickly as possible, I was fidgeting with it a lot. I noticed that the blade did come off center, so I took a screwdriver, just tightened this side, it went back center. And what I ended up doing is putting a little bit of Loctite on this screw as well as this screw, because they come in and attach to a kind of a collar in there. So I did end up Loctiting it, and it hasn't moved since. So some of you guys like knives come Loctite, and some of you guys hate when knives come with Loctite. This one did not. If you want to add Loctite, pretty easy. But the thing that I wanted to point out is that this really cool asymmetric pivot is quite easy to service with just a standard flathead screwdriver. So it was really easy to take it apart, put it back together again. This knife would not be difficult to service in the slightest in regard to the pivot. and then the standoff screws as well. So they look cool, but they're still very functional. Just about everyone has a flathead screwdriver. But yeah. Now the frame itself, aside from the really cool milling, every edge has been rounded, so there's nothing sharp on here at all. So really comfortable in the hand. Doesn't have any like jimping or any extreme traction, but you do get a very comfortable grip. And again, my XL hands, that's how this thing sits. Pocket clip does not poke into my hand at all, but depending on your hand size, perhaps it will. It just rests differently in everyone's hands, but really comfortable. The spine here up top is flat in this portion before you get to the swedge, so that's a pretty good spot to rest your thumb if you need to. But again, for EDC stuff, this is works just fine. So does have an interesting kind of blackened standoff here, and then there is a post in the back right there. Hopefully you can see that, for a lanyard hole, and then the standoff would actually protect the lanyard from traveling anywhere near the blade, it seems. So now with a knife this big, you're probably wondering, how did they achieve that 5 ounces? I'm going to try to show you guys here under with a flashlight if possible, but they did a tremendous amount of skeletonizing inside of the handle here. So every available spot they could, they went ahead and removed material. It actually looks really cool too, so that's how they achieved some of that weight reduction, was in some pretty heavy skeletonizing. But yeah, again, 5.5 ounces for a full titanium frame lock. Pretty rockin'. So let's do a quick size comparison. Here's my Garza, which I carry quite a bit. Camera angle is going to be a little bit deceiving, but that's where we're at with the Garza. Let's lay them over the top of each other. Yeah, so that's kind of the difference in size there. Another one that's quite common, hopefully for most of you guys, ZT0562 for size comparison. So let's try this. There we go. So they're butt to butt, I suppose, but that's the difference in the size between them. But alright, so I guess that's pretty much it. Went over just about everything, but another really good job from Custom Knife Factory. They do have, again, they just announced another knife today, in fact. It is a flipper. It's a flipper version of the Sequoia, which that one is on loan to a friend, but I do have my Sequoia, of course. And then they do have an integral coming up maybe later on this year, early next year, that's supposed to be really cool as well. So a lot of good stuff to come. I'll put all the links down below if you don't follow them yet or would like to follow them. Comments or questions, let me know, guys. Yeah, just really cool, really fun to play with, really great for actual use type of knife. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be looking forward to more really cool offerings from Custom Knife Factory. See you guys soon. Take care.